Humanity's Silence, the Council's Ultimate Nightmare. Begins Part 1, The Summons. The Grand Judgment Chamber of the Galactic Council stretched impossibly wide, its crystalline dome capturing the light of 7 stars. 500 alien representatives from across the Milky Way sat in rising tiers, their murmurs creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and rumbles. At the center stood Ambassador Eliza Reyes, the lone human representative, dwarfed by the chamber but standing with unwavering poise. High Counselor Nixithar, a 12-foot bipedal being with iridescent scales, pounded a gravity staff against the floor, silencing the chamber. The species known as human stands accused of violating Galactic Ordinance 7293, unauthorized. Technological advancement and deliberate communication. Silence, the staff projected. Holographic evidence of Earth's rapid progress from primitive technology to quantum computing in mere centuries. For 300 cycles, we have observed your kind, continued Nixthar, his voice echoing. For 300 cycles, you have ignored our probes, our signals, our ambassadors. You knew we were watching, yet you remained silent. Explain this defiance. The chamber fell silent as Ambassador Reyes reached into her pocket. The council guard tensed, weapons charging. She slowly removed a small metallic cube, placing it on the floor. It hovered, then projected a 3-dimensional map of Earth's transmission stretching outward into space, but with a curious pattern. The transmission stopped abruptly at precisely calculated boundaries, creating a perfect silent bubble around Earth's solar system. We weren't ignoring you, Reyes said, her voice steady despite being broadcast to billions across the galaxy. We were listening, learning, and waiting until we were ready. She tapped the cube again, revealing thousands of translated alien communications, council battle plans, and weapon specifications or intelligence gathered over centuries without ever breaking their silence or revealing they understood. Nixthar's secondary eyelids fluttered in shock. Impossible. How did you The question isn't how we intercepted your communications, Reyes interrupted, her eyes reflecting the starlight. The question is why you've been planning an invasion of Earth for the last 50 years. High Counselor. The chamber erupted in chaos as Reyes uploaded the evidence to the Council's public archives, where it could not be deleted. In that moment, the Council realized that humanity's silence wasn't ignorance. It was strategy. 3 days later, Ambassador Reyes stood at the viewport of the Earth diplomatic vessel Tenacity, watching distant stars shimmer. The massive Council station Convergence loomed outside like an artificial planet, home to representatives of over 2,000 civilizations. After her bombshell revelation, the Council had called an emergency recess. Now they were reconvening, and Reyes knew the real battle was just beginning. Ambassador, we've received a message from Earth Command, said Lieutenant Damon Wells, entering the room with a data tablet. Operation Silent Shield is fully activated. All our embedded assets are standing by. Reyes nodded, taking the tablet. And what about our friends? Counselor Trell of the Arcturus Alliance has requested a private meeting before the session. Says it's urgent, Reyes smiled slightly. The plan was working. Since revealing that the Council's military faction had been plotting against Earth, several civilizations had reached out privately, expressing their own concerns about the Council's growing authoritarianism. Tell Trell I'll meet in the neutral zone, Section 42. And Damon? Make sure our quantum shield is active during the meeting. We still don't know who we can fully trust. As Wells left, Reyes turned back to the viewport, remembering how this had all begun. Earth had detected alien signals nearly a century ago, but chose not to respond openly. Instead, under the Quiet Protocol, they had developed technology to intercept and understand alien communications while masking their own advancement. They learned of the vast Galactic Council, its politics, its divisions, and the faction that saw emerging civilizations as threats to be controlled or eliminated. 3 hours later, Reyes walked into the massive council chamber for the reconvened session. The mood was tense. Many delegates avoided her gaze. Others watched her with naked curiosity. The military faction, led by Nixithar, sat rigidly in their section, their collective gaze burning into her. Supreme Arbiter Zol Marin, an ancient being of pure energy contained in a specialized suit, raised his tendrils for silence. Unlike Nixthar, Marin was known for his fairness. He had ruled the Council for millennia, and was one of the few beings that even Nixthar respected or feared. These proceedings will continue in an orderly fashion. Marin's voice resonated without seeming to come from any specific direction. High Counselor Nixthar has requested to address the accusations brought by the human representative. Nixthar rose, his tall frame towering over the other delegates. The documents presented by the human ambassador have been altered and falsified. Yes, we monitored Earth wars as we monitor all developing worlds, but we had no invasion plans. His voice carried throughout the chamber. In fact, it is Earth that represents a danger. Their deliberate communication silence while developing advanced technology violates our most basic principles. They have been preparing for war, not peace. Murmurs spread through the chamber as Rhea stepped forward. She had expected this counter-accusation. Supreme Arbiter, I request permission to present additional evidence. Marin's energy form pulsed briefly. Granted. Reyes activated another data cube. This time it projected the image of an alien being Kalmudir, one of Nixthar's top commanders. This is General Vor, recorded at a secure military facility on Ziltra Prime 3 solar cycles ago. She tapped the cube, and the recorded message played. The containment fleet will be ready within 5 cycles, the general was saying. Earth's defenses are primitive. Once we control their system, we can harvest their genetic material and resources without opposition. The High Counselor has approved the full operation. Silence fell over the chamber. Even Nixthar seemed momentarily at a loss. Furthermore, Reyes continued, we have identified 17 unauthorized Council scout ships that entered our solar system over the past decade. 3 of them landed on Earth, in violation of your own non-interference laws. She projected images of the ships along with their registration codes. We captured one intact. The crew admitted they were mapping Earth's defenses. Nixthar slammed his staff down. This is manipulation. The humans are using doctored evidence to turn the Council against itself. Is that so? Reyes replied calmly. She turned to face the entire assembly. Then why did we find listening devices in our oceans? Why did we detect stealth platforms in orbit around our planet? Why did we intercept transmission after transmission discussing Earth as a resource world to be harvested? She paused, letting her words sink in. We remained silent because we were gathering information, because we needed to understand what we were facing. And what we discovered was that while the Council claims to welcome new civilizations, a powerful faction sees emerging worlds as nothing more than resources to exploit. Counselor Trell, a massive being with 4 arms and crystalline skin, rose from his seat. Supreme Arbiter, I move that we investigate these claims independently. If what the humans say is true, it represents a grave violation of our founding principles. Seconded, called out Delegate Mora, an avian being whose species was known for their strict adherence to law. Nixthar's scales darkened with anger. This is precisely what they want, to divide us, to weaken the Council's authority. Or perhaps, Rhea suggested quietly, it's about accountability. The Supreme Arbiter's energy form pulsed brighter. I have made my decision. There will be an independent investigation led by neutral parties. Until it is complete, Earth will be granted protective status. No Council forces may approach their system without explicit permission. Nikisthar's eyes narrowed dangerously. You overstep your authority, Arbiter. Do I? Marin's energy form expanded slightly. Perhaps you forget who established this Council. Nixthar. Long before your kind achieved spaceflight, I created these rules to prevent precisely this kind of predatory behavior. The chamber grew tense as the 2 powerful beings faced each other. Finally, Nixithar backed down, but his voice was cold. Very well, an investigation. But when it reveals the humans' deception, I will personally lead the fleet that brings them to heel. As the session adjourned, Reyes was approached by Counselor Trell. Bold move. Human, the crystalline being said quietly. But Nixthar will not forget this humiliation. You've made a powerful enemy today. We didn't come here looking for enemies, Counselor, Reyes replied. But we won't be victims either. Trell's crystal body refracted light as he leaned closer. There are others who share your concerns about the military faction's growing power. We should talk privately. As Reyes nodded in agreement, her communicator vibrated. A message from Earth. Unexpected energy signatures detected at the edge of their solar system. Ships emerging from hyperspace. The battle for Earth's future had begun, and humanity's long silence was over. The Council's nightmare was just beginning. Humanity's silence, the Council's ultimate nightmare. Begins Part 2, The Revelation. The hidden fleet emerged from Neptune's shadow, 117 warships that had never appeared on any Council surveillance. Admiral Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the flagship Deterrent, watching tactical displays as his vessels moved into defensive formation. Earth had kept these ships hidden for decades, constructing them in secret bases beneath the ice of Europa and within the storms of Jupiter. "Status report," Reed commanded, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of holographic displays. Commander Olivia Drake stepped forward. "All vessels reporting ready, Admiral. Quantum shields at full capacity. The Council battle group has crossed the Kuiper Belt boundary and continues to approach." Reed nodded, studying the incoming enemy formation. 37 Council warships, all bearing the insignia of Nixthar's military faction. They had launched the moment the Council session had adjourned, clearly prepared in advance. Despite the Arbiter's ruling, "Open a channel to the lead vessel," Reed ordered. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the scaled face of a Council commander. "This is Admiral Marcus Reed of Earth Defense Fleet. You are entering protected space against the explicit ruling of your own Supreme Arbiter. Reverse course immediately." The alien commander's vertical pupils narrowed. "We recognize no such restriction. Your system harbors dangerous technology in violation of Council law. Surrender your vessels and prepare for inspection." Reed smiled thinly. "I'm afraid that won't be possible. But since you've come all this way, perhaps you'd like a demonstration of exactly what humanity has been working on during our long silence." He nodded to Drake, who activated a sequence on her console. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations powered up, on Pluto, on Ceres, on Mars, and countless asteroids. Facilities that had been disguised as mining operations or research stations revealed their true purpose. "What you're seeing," Reed continued as the Council ship's sensors detected the sudden energy spike, "is the quiet protocol in action. For a century we've been building, preparing, listening. We heard your debates about whether emerging species deserved rights or were simply resources. We intercepted your classified reports labeling Earth as a harvest world." The Council commander's confidence visibly faltered as his tactical officer whispered urgently in his ear. "Admiral," Drake interrupted quietly. "They're charging weapons." Reed nodded. "Activate defensive measures only. Let's show them what we can do without firing a shot." As the Council vessels launched their first volley, something extraordinary happened. The energy weapons and missiles seemed to slow, then stop entirely, suspended in space halfway between the fleets. A shimmering field of blue-white energy had materialized, capturing the attack. "What is this trickery?" the Council commander demanded, his composure breaking. "We call it the quantum barrier," Reed explained calmly. "It doesn't block your weapons. It removes them from normal spacetime. They exist now in a state of temporal suspension." He gestured to the floating, frozen attack. "They'll remain there until we decide to release them." The commander's scales darkened with rage. "Impossible. Such technology violates fundamental laws of physics. Perhaps your understanding of those laws is incomplete," Reed suggested. "Now I suggest you withdraw while you still can. Or would you like to see what else we've been developing during our silence?" On the convergence station, Ambassador Reyes rushed through the diplomatic quarter, flanked by security officers. News of the confrontation at the edge of the solar system had spread rapidly through the station. "This way, Ambassador," Lieutenant Wells directed, leading her toward an emergency meeting chamber where friendly delegates had gathered. Inside, representatives from a dozen civilizations waited anxiously. Councillor Trell's crystalline form caught the light as he approached. "Your Admiral Reed has shown remarkable restraint," he said. "Nixthar hoped to provoke an aggressive response to justify a full invasion." "We don't want war," Reyes replied firmly. "We want recognition and safety. What you've revealed goes beyond your world's security," said Delegate Mora, the avian representative. Her feathers rippled with agitation. "Nixthar's faction has been expanding military operations throughout the galaxy. Many younger civilizations have simply disappeared after refusing his protection." Professor Diana Rivera, Earth's leading xenolinguist, stepped forward from behind Reyes. She had been quietly analyzing the Council's historical archives since their arrival. "We found something," she said, activating a data tablet. "Records dating back thousands of years. heavily encrypted and buried in the oldest parts of the Council database. The holographic display showed ancient star charts and what appeared to be migration patterns across the galaxy. These suggest that humans may not have evolved naturally on Earth, Rivera explained. There are references to a civilization called the Forerunners who seeded compatible life forms across thousands of worlds as part of a vast experiment, the seeding myth, whispered an elderly delegate from the corner of the room. All eyes turned to Counselor Vex, one of the oldest beings in the galaxy. His species, the Lontari, were known for their longevity and perfect memory. It is no myth, Vex continued. The Forerunners existed and they did indeed seed many worlds with compatible life. But there was a specific reason they placed humans on Earth, isolated from galactic society. The room fell silent as Vex approached the center. Humans possess a unique neural pattern, one that allows them to perceive and manipulate quantum states intuitively, in ways other species cannot. The Forerunners feared this ability. They saw humanity as both promising and dangerous. Reyes exchanged glances with Rivera. This explained so much about humanity's rapid technological development once they focused on quantum physics. Nixthar knows this, Vex continued. His ancestors were among those who advocated for humanity's complete isolation. They feared what you might become. And what is that? Reyes asked quietly. Vex's ancient eyes studied her. The next stage of cosmic evolution. Beings who can reshape reality through thought and technology working in harmony. A sudden commotion at the door interrupted the conversation. Supreme Arbiter Marin's energy form flowed into the chamber, his containment suit glowing brightly. Ambassador Reyes, Marin's voice resonated. Nixthar has called for an emergency session of the full council. He claims your fleet has attacked his peacekeeping forces without provocation. That's a lie, Reyes countered. His ships entered our system against your direct ruling. We defended ourselves without casualties. I am aware, Marin replied, surprising everyone, which is why I insisted that the session include a full sensory record from both fleets. Reyes studied the energy being carefully. You're not aligned with Nixthar, are you? I am aligned with the preservation of balance, Marin answered. For too long I have watched Nixthar's faction grow unchecked. Your arrival may be the catalyst needed for change. Or for war, Trell added grimly. Either way, Marin continued, humanity must reveal more of its capabilities now. Nixthar respects only power. That's a dangerous game, Reyes cautioned. If we show too much, we become a greater threat in his eyes. If we show too little, we appear weak. Then show precisely enough, Marin advised. Enough to establish respect, not fear. As they prepared to enter the council chamber, Rivera pulled Reyes aside, speaking urgently. There's something else in these ancient records, she whispered. References to a human ability called the Awakening. Something that happens when enough humans with the quantum perception gene gather in one place and focus their abilities. What kind of ability? Reyes asked. I don't know exactly, but it terrified the Forerunners enough that they scattered humanity across space and time to prevent it from happening. Reyes absorbed this, making a quick decision. She activated her secure communication link to Earth. Admiral Reed, this is Ambassador Reyes. Implement Protocol Awakening. Gather the perception group at Site Omega. We may need capabilities we haven't tested yet. Reed's voice came back, concerned. Ambassador, those technologies are theoretical at best. Dangerous at worst. So is extinction, Admiral. Nixthar won't stop until we're subjugated or eliminated. We need every advantage. As Reyes ended the transmission, she straightened her uniform and prepared to face the council again. The game had changed. Humanity wasn't just fighting for recognition anymore. They were fighting to reclaim their forgotten legacy. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in a facility unknown even to most of Earth's leadership, 50 humans with rare genetic markers sat in a perfect circle. Each had tested positive for what scientists had called the quantum perception, genetic mutation that allowed them to sense the underlying fabric of reality in ways instruments couldn't. Detect Dr. Thomas Larson moved around the circle, checking the neural interfaces attached to each participant. Remember, he instructed, don't force it. Simply perceive the quantum field as we practiced. Feel the connections between your consciousness and the underlying reality. In the center of the circle stood a small crystalline device, a prototype based on fragments of ancient technology found buried on Earth's moon. For decades, scientists had studied it without understanding its purpose. Only recently had they realized it was designed to amplify and focus human consciousness. Humanity's silence, the Council's ultimate nightmare. Begins Part 3. The Division. The Grand Council Chamber had never witnessed such chaos. Representatives from 2,000 civilizations shouted, argued, and formed impromptu alliances as the emergency session descended into disorder. The central holographic display showed the confrontation between Earth's hidden fleet and Nixthar's forces, evidence that contradicted the High Counselor's claims of unprovoked human aggression. Nixthar stood at the center platform, his massive frame rigid with barely controlled fury. His faction, nearly a third of the council, gathered behind him in a show of solidarity. Opposite them, Councillor Trell led the moderate faction, with Ambassador Reyes standing calmly at his side. Supreme Arbiter Marin's energy form pulsed brightly as he called for order. This council will not dissolve into tribal conflicts. We will address the evidence before us with the rationality that has guided us for millennia. Slowly the chamber quieted. Nixthar stepped forward. The footage has been manipulated, he declared. These humans possess dangerous technologies they have concealed from the galaxy. They claim to want peace, yet they built warships in secret. They claim to seek friendship, yet they monitored our communications without permission. Perhaps, Reyes responded, her voice carrying through the vast chamber. We had good reason for caution. She activated her data cube, projecting new information. These are records of 17 civilizations that made contact with the Council over the past century. All were at similar development stages as Earth. All refused to submit to restrictive technology treaties. The display showed planet after planet, followed by disturbing footage of massive harvesting ships stripping resources. Populations relocated to labor colonies. Entire cultures systematically dismantled. Every one of these civilizations was classified as a resource world by Nixthar's faction, Reyes continued. Everyone was exploited, its people enslaved or worse. Would you have had us reveal ourselves knowing this was our likely fate? Murmurs spread through the chamber as delegates from older, established civilizations turned to look at representatives of the military faction. Many seemed genuinely shocked by the evidence. Lies. Nixthar slammed his gravity staff down. These worlds threatened galactic stability with unchecked technological advancement. Did they? Councillor Vex of the Lontari rose from his seat, his ancient form moving with surprising grace. Or did they simply refuse to surrender their resources and autonomy? Nixthar's scales darkened dangerously. You overstep, Vex. Remember your place. My place. Vex's voice carried unexpected strength. I sat on this council when your ancestors were still climbing from the swamps of Zilthar. I watched as your faction gradually twisted our principles from protection to exploitation. The chamber fell silent. Vex rarely spoke at council meetings and never with such force. There is something else the council should know, Vex continued. Something kept hidden for too long. He turned toward the assembled delegates. The humans are not merely another emerging species. They are Forerunner touched. Gasps echoed throughout the chamber. Even Nixithar seemed momentarily stunned. That is nothing but myth, one of Nixthar's allies objected. Is it? Vex activated his own ancient data storage device, projecting genetic sequences. These are human DNA patterns compared with recovered Forerunner samples. The match in key cognitive areas is unmistakable. Reyes glanced at Professor Rivera, who nodded slightly. This was unexpected support for humanity's position. The Forerunners seeded humans across many worlds before their disappearance, Vex explained. Earth was their final sanctuary world. The humans there were given a unique genetic gift, the ability to perceive and manipulate quantum reality intuitively. The implications rippled through the assembly. The Forerunners were legends, the mysterious precursor civilization that had seemingly vanished at the height of their development, leaving only fragments of their advanced technology scattered across the galaxy. This changes nothing, Nixthar declared, though with less certainty than before. If anything, it proves humans are too dangerous to remain unregulated. Or perhaps, Supreme Arbiter Marin interjected, it explains why your faction has been so determined to control Earth. You knew what humans might become. The chamber erupted again as accusations flew. Delegates chose sides openly now, with over half the council moving to stand with Trell and the moderates, while a significant minority backed Nixthar. A small group, mostly ancient species like the Lontari, remained neutral, watching the proceedings with inscrutable expressions. "This council is now divided," Marin declared, his energy form expanding to fill the central space. "Until consensus can be reached, I invoke the ancient protocol of fractured assembly. Each faction will select representatives to form a temporary ruling body." Nixthar's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You have no authority, I have every authority," Marin interrupted, his voice resonating with power that seemed to vibrate the very structure of the chamber. "I was appointed by the Forerunners themselves, Nixthar. My mandate predates this council." Shocked silence fell. This revelation was as unexpected as the truth about humanity. "The fractured assembly protocol stands," Marin continued. 3 representatives from each faction. The humans will represent themselves. We reconvene in 3 cycles. As the session adjourned, delegates quickly formed into groups, arguing intensely. Reyes found herself approached by Counselor Trell. "You've changed everything," the crystalline being said quietly. "The council has not been divided like this in 5,000 years." "We didn't intend to cause disruption," Reyes replied, "but perhaps it was necessary," Trell answered. "Nixthar's faction has grown too powerful, too unchallenged. Many of us have been concerned but lack the catalyst to act." "And now?" Reyes asked. "Now we prepare. Nixthar will not accept this division peacefully." On the deterrent, Admiral Reed received an urgent transmission from Mars Base Omega. Dr. Larson's face appeared on the screen, his expression a mixture of awe and concern. "Admiral, the perception group has achieved something unexpected. The ancient crystal device, it's not just an amplifier. It's a key." "A key to what, Doctor?" Reed asked. "To the Forerunner Network, a system of entangled quantum relays hidden throughout the galaxy. We've accessed only a tiny fragment, but the information, it's overwhelming. Coordinates, technological specifications, historical records." Reed leaned forward. "Does it give us an advantage against Nixthar's forces?" Larson nodded slowly. "More than you can imagine. But there's something else, something troubling. References to why the Forerunners scattered humanity across multiple worlds, why they hid us from the Council." "Tell me," Reed ordered. "They were afraid of us, Admiral. Of what happens when enough humans with the perception gene gather in one place and focus their abilities through the proper technology. Something called the Awakening Event. What exactly is this event?" Larson looked uncomfortable. "The records are fragmented, but they suggest a fundamental shift in reality itself. A merging of consciousness with quantum fields that allows for the restructuring of physical laws within a localized space. In plain language, Doctor, humans with this ability could potentially rewrite reality in a limited area, change the rules of physics. The Forerunners believed it could expand with practice, eventually allowing humanity to reshape entire star systems." Reed was silent for a long moment. "And the perception group, have they shown signs of this ability?" "Small ones," Larson admitted. "Objects moving without being touched. Energy patterns forming without input. It's subtle but growing stronger as they practice." Reed made a quick decision. "Continue the experiments, but with extreme caution. And prepare the group for possible evacuation. If Nixthar discovers what we're doing on Mars..." "Understood, Admiral." As the transmission ended, Reed turned to Commander Drake. "Update our defensive positions. I want every ship at full readiness. And contact the ambassador. She needs to know what we've discovered." Drake nodded but looked troubled. "Sir, if these abilities are real, if humans really can manipulate reality, are we crossing a line we shouldn't cross?" Reed considered this. "Perhaps, but Nixthar has given us no choice. Humanity spent a century in silence, hoping to avoid conflict. That time is over." On the convergence station, Reyes met secretly with Counselor Vex in a secure chamber, provided by Arbiter Marin. The ancient being studied her with eyes that had witnessed millennia of galactic history. "You did not know about your Forerunner heritage," Vex observed. "It wasn't a question. We had theories," Reyes admitted. "Unexplained technological artifacts. Genetic anomalies that suggested external influence in our evolution. But nothing concrete until now. The Forerunners chose Earth as their final sanctuary for a reason," Vex explained. "Your world was special sorts isolated yet resource-rich, positioned in a galactic quiet zone where few spacefaring races ventured. Why hide us away? Why separate us from galactic society?" Vex's expression grew solemn. because of what you could become. The Forerunners conducted genetic experiments on many species, seeking to create successors who could inherit their legacy. Humans were their most successful creation, perhaps too successful. The quantum perception gene, Reyes said. Yes. The ability first manifested unexpectedly in a human research colony. Within humanity's silence, the Council's ultimate nightmare. Begins Part 4. The Reckoning. The ancient observatory at the heart of Convergence Station had not been used for official purposes in centuries. Built by the founders of the Galactic Council, its transparent dome offered an unobstructed view of the surrounding stars. Now it served as a neutral meeting ground for the fractured Council's representatives. Ambassador Reyes stood at the central platform, flanked by Lieutenant Wells and Professor Rivera. Across from them, Nixthar led his delegation, his scales gleaming under the starlight. Counselor Trell represented the moderate faction, while Supreme Arbiter Marin hovered above them all. His energy form dimmed to avoid overwhelming the sensitive instruments. This fractured assembly is now in session, Marin announced. We face the greatest division in Council history, and decisions made here will shape galactic politics for millennia to come. Nixthar stepped forward immediately. I move for immediate containment of Earth and all human outposts. Their technological development poses an unprecedented threat to galactic stability. Containment? Reyes questioned. You mean invasion? Call it what you will, Nixthar replied coldly. The evidence of your dangerous advancement is irrefutable. The quantum barrier. Your fleet deployed violates fundamental laws of physics. Perhaps your understanding of physics is incomplete, Professor Rivera suggested, earning a dark look from the High Counselor. Is it? Nixthar activated a holographic display showing the confrontation between the fleets. Your technologies allow you to manipulate space-time itself. Such power cannot be left unregulated. Trell's crystalline form caught the starlight as he moved forward. And who would do this regulating, Nixthar? Your faction? The same group that classified 17 emerging civilizations as resource worlds and stripped them of their autonomy? Before Nixthar could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A technician rushed into the observatory, addressing Marin urgently. Supreme Arbiter, we're detecting massive energy surges throughout the system, multiple ships emerging from unregistered transit points. The observatory's displays activated automatically, showing a startling sight. Throughout the space surrounding Convergence, points of brilliant light appeared to doorways in space-time opening simultaneously. Through each emerged vessels of unfamiliar design, sleek and powerful. What is this? Nixthar demanded, turning to Reyes with naked suspicion. Not our doing, she replied honestly, though she recognized the ships from Admiral Reed's reports. They matched the designs in the Forerunner database, automated vessels activated by the awakening Forerunner network. Marin expanded his energy form, interfacing directly with the observatory's sensors. These ships bear Forerunner signatures. They have been dormant for millennia, awaiting activation protocols, which the humans have triggered, Nixthar accused. Not intentionally, Reyes countered. We're as surprised as you are. The largest of the Forerunner vessels moved toward Convergence, dwarfing even the massive station. It transmitted no communications but projected a powerful energy field that surrounded the observatory dome. Within this field, a figure began to materialize, a shimmering, translucent being of pure light. Though it had no distinguishable features, its presence carried unmistakable intelligence and purpose. A Forerunner consciousness imprint, Marin whispered, his own energy form dimming in apparent deference. The light being spoke, its voice resonating directly in the minds of all present. The cycle approaches completion. The seeds we planted have begun to flower. Nixthar stepped back involuntarily. Impossible. The Forerunners vanished eons ago. Our physical forms, yes, the being acknowledged. Our consciousness, our purpose. These remain, preserved in the network that spans this galaxy. The being turned toward Reyes, studying her with a sense of evaluation that she felt rather than saw. The human strand has developed as designed, though they awaken earlier than projected. The perception gene has activated. What does that mean? Reyes asked. It means you begin to see reality as we did now, not as fixed and immutable, but as a canvas of probability and potential. The ability to perceive precedes the ability to change. Nixthar's anger overcame his momentary awe. This proves everything I have claimed. Humans possess powers that threaten all established civilizations. Your fear is misplaced, child of Zilthar. The Forerunner addressed Nixthar. We did not create humans to conquer or destroy, but to preserve. Preserve what? Trell asked. Balance. Life. Consciousness itself. The being expanded, filling the dome with gentle light. Long ago we detected a pattern in the fabric of reality, a slow unraveling, that would eventually lead to cosmic entropy accelerating beyond sustainability. Images appeared in the minds of all, present as galaxies fading prematurely, stars dying before their time, the delicate balance of physical laws beginning to shift in destructive ways. We sought a solution or species that could perceive these patterns and make the subtle adjustments necessary to maintain cosmic equilibrium. Humans were our most promising creation, but they required time to develop the ethical framework needed to wield such power responsibly. So you hid us away, Reyes realized. Isolated us on Earth until we were ready. Yes, we scattered human seeds across many worlds, but Earth was special positioned at a critical junction of cosmic energy flows. There, human consciousness could develop in harmony with the planet's unique quantum field. While this revelation unfolded at Convergence, on Mars Base Omega, the Perception Group had made a breakthrough. The 50 humans linked to the ancient crystal found themselves perceiving reality in entirely new ways. Physical objects no longer appeared solid, but as concentrated patterns of energy and information. The very air seemed alive with potential. Dr. Larson monitored their vital signs with growing concern. Their brain activity is synchronizing, neural patterns aligning in ways I've never seen. At the center of the circle, the crystal rose higher, spinning faster, emitting pulses of light that corresponded to the collective heartbeat of the group. Through their linked consciousness, they were mapping the Forerunner network and discovering how to use it. In Earth orbit, Admiral Reed received an urgent transmission from Dr. Larson. Admiral, they've done it. The Perception Group has accessed the network controls. They can activate the dormant Forerunner technologies throughout the system. What kind of technologies? Reed asked. Defense systems primarily. The Forerunners left safeguards in place to protect their sanctuary worlds. Earth has the most extensive network, a defensive shell that could render the planet virtually impregnable. Reed considered this information carefully. Activate the defenses, but with minimal power. We don't want to appear overtly aggressive. There's more, Admiral. The group has located additional Forerunner facilities throughout our system, Walsart's research centers, manufacturing hubs, even what appears to be a massive shipyard hidden within Saturn's rings. All this was here all along, right under our noses, cloaked by technologies we couldn't perceive until now. The awakening of the perception gene has literally changed what we can see. Back at Convergence, the revelation continued as the Forerunner consciousness shared more of humanity's intended purpose. The abilities awakening in humans now were designed to mature gradually, it explained. The perception gene allows them to see quantum patterns. With training, they will learn to influence those patterns, or first in small ways, then more significantly. You're describing reality manipulation, Nixthar said accusingly. The power to rewrite physical laws, within limits, the Forerunner clarified. Localized effects constrained by energy requirements and cosmic balance principles. Not godlike power, but stewardship. And what ensures they use this power wisely? Nixthar demanded. The same thing that ensures any species uses its abilities responsibly: ethics, wisdom, consequences. Humans have developed moral frameworks during their isolation that align with our intentions. Rhea stepped forward. We never sought power over others. Even now, with fleets threatening our world, we've shown restraint. The Forerunner turned to her. Yes, this is why the network has begun to respond. Your reactions confirm our calculations. Nixthar's scales darkened with anger. I will not accept this. The military faction of the Council will not stand by while a single species gains such advantage. The Forerunner's light dimmed slightly. Your resistance was anticipated. There have always been those who fear change, who cling to dominance rather than balance. This isn't about fear, Nixthar insisted. It's about survival. If humans can manipulate reality itself, what prevents them from reshaping the galaxy to their exclusive benefit? The same perception that gives them this ability, the Forerunner answered. To truly see the quantum fabric is to understand its interconnectedness. No part can be changed without affecting the whole. Selfish manipulation would create instabilities that harm the manipulator as much as others. Counselor Trell moved forward, his crystalline body refracting the Forerunner's light. I believe I understand. The humans aren't being given power over us, but responsibility for cosmic maintenance. Yes, the Forerunner confirmed. A responsibility that should be shared, not hoarded. Human perception is unique, but all species have contributions to make. Reyes felt a sudden connection to the Mars Perception Group. A flash of humanity's silence, the Council's ultimate nightmare begins. Part 5. The awakening, the surface of Mars rippled like water. Rock and sand flowed in impossible patterns as reality itself bent around Base Omega. Nixthar's strike team, moments from breaching the inner facility, found themselves suspended in a bubble of altered space-time, not frozen or harmed, but held in a gentle stasis where seconds stretched into eternity. Inside the facility, the perception group sat in their perfect circle, eyes open but seeing beyond physical reality. Through their combined consciousness, they perceived the quantum fabric of existence, the underlying patterns that governed all matter and energy. The crystal at their center had transformed, expanding into a glowing sphere that connected directly to the Forerunner network spanning the galaxy. Dr. Larson watched in awe as the laws of physics rewrote themselves within the chamber. Objects floated freely, energy patterns formed complex structures in midair, and time itself flowed differently in different parts of the room. They've achieved quantum consensus, he whispered into his communicator. Admiral, I've never seen anything like this. They're not just accessing the network, they're becoming part of it. At Earth's Defense Headquarters, Admiral Reed listened with growing concern. What exactly does that mean, Doctor? In practical terms, it means they can perceive and influence reality at its most fundamental level, at least within a limited radius. The effect is expanding slowly but steadily. Is it dangerous? Could it harm them or others? Larson studied the readings. Not harmful, no. More like reconfiguring. They're not destroying reality, they're optimizing it, removing inefficiencies in quantum interactions, enhancing information flow between particles. And Nixthar's forces? Contained, not harmed. The perception group created a temporal bubble around them. From our perspective, the attackers appear frozen. From their perspective, they're experiencing extreme time dilation. Seconds for us or split seconds for them. Reed considered this. Keep me updated on any changes. And prepare for possible evacuation if the situation destabilizes. On Convergence Station, the observatory had become a nexus of crisis management. The Forerunner consciousness maintained its presence, observing as representatives of the fractured council argued bitterly. Displays showed the situation at Mars, where the spreading quantum effect had become visible even from space. A shimmering dome of altered reality expanding slowly from Base Omega. You see? Nixthar pointed accusingly at the display. They're rewriting physical laws. This is precisely what I warned against. Your attack provoked this, Counselor Trell countered. The humans were proceeding cautiously until you threatened their researchers. Ambassador Reyes stood apart from the argument, in silent communication with the Forerunner consciousness. Unlike the others, she could now perceive the being's thoughts directly, a side effect of her own awakening perception gene. This is happening too quickly, she said privately to the being. The perception group doesn't have enough experience to control these abilities fully. True, the Forerunner acknowledged. The ideal timeline allowed for generations of gradual development. But the network adapts to necessity. Your people are receiving guidance through the connection. Knowledge we embedded for precisely this contingency. What happens next? Reyes asked. The awakening will continue to spread, but slowly. First to those with the strongest expression of the perception gene, then to others with lesser expressions. Eventually, all humans will share some degree of quantum awareness, though the ability to influence reality will vary greatly among individuals. And how will the rest of the galaxy react? Nixthar is already calling for our extinction. The Forerunner's light pulsed gently. That decision belongs to the Council. We created the potential, but the path forward must be determined by the living. Reyes turned back to the arguing representatives. Supreme Arbiter Marin had finally restored some semblance of order, His energy form expanded to separate the hostile factions physically. Enough. Marin's voice resonated with authority that transcended his role as arbiter. This division serves no one. We must address the reality before us, not our fears or ambitions. The reality, Nixithar insisted, is that humans now possess power that no single species should wield. Perhaps, Marin acknowledged, but your solution, War's extermination or subjugation, violates the very principles this council was founded upon. We must find another way. There is another way, Reyes said, stepping forward. All eyes turned to her. Cooperation instead of conflict. Partnership instead of domination. She activated her data cube, projecting the information transmitted from the Mars facility. What's happening isn't a weapon being deployed. It's a healing process beginning. The Forerunner network was designed to maintain cosmic balance while to prevent the premature entropy that threatens all life in this galaxy. The display showed energy, patterns stabilizing throughout the Mars system, quantum fluctuations resolving into more efficient configurations. Humans can perceive and access the network, yes, but we can't operate it alone. The Forerunners designed it to require diverse inputs to different perspectives, different forms of consciousness working in harmony. Convenient claims, Nixthar scoffed. Verifiable ones, Reyes countered. The perception group has already discovered the connection points designed for non-human consciousness. The network has interfaces specifically adapted to Silthari neural patterns, crystalline thought structures like the Trell, even energy beings like Arbiter Marin. This revelation caused a stir among the representatives. The Forerunner consciousness expanded slightly, confirming Reyes' statement without words. The Forerunners didn't choose humans to rule. Reyes continued. They chose us to catalyze air to activate a system meant for all sentient life. We're not your masters or your enemies. We're your partners in ensuring the galaxy's continued existence. On the deterrent, Admiral Reed received an urgent communication from Mars. The face of Anna Kozlov, one of the perception group members, appeared on screen. Her eyes had changed. The irises now containing subtle patterns of light that shifted constantly. Admiral, her voice carried unusual harmonics. We've stabilized the local effect and contained Nixithar's forces without casualties. But we've discovered something critical in the network data. Go ahead, Reed prompted. The entropy problem the Forerunners detected, it's accelerating. Their projections were conservative. We're seeing signs of premature stellar decay throughout the Sagittarius arm. Without intervention, we're looking at cascading failures in the cosmic background field within decades, not millennia. Reed straightened. Are you certain? The data is unambiguous. And there's more. The Forerunners left tools to address this technology that can reinforce weakening points in the cosmic field. But deployment requires a coordinated effort involving multiple species with different perception abilities. You're saying we need the Council. We need everyone, Admiral. This isn't just about human survival anymore. Back at Convergence, Reyes received this information through her strengthening connection to the perception group. Without hesitation, she shared it with the Assembly, projecting the data for all to see. The evidence was compelling under detailed measurements of cosmic background radiation showing unmistakable patterns of degradation, stellar formation rates dropping in specific regions, quantum field instabilities spreading in ways that threatened the fundamental forces holding reality together. This is what the Forerunners were preparing for, Reyes explained. Not conquest, not power struggles, but an existential threat to all life. Even Nixithar fell silent as he studied the data. His scientific advisors whispered urgently in his ear, confirming the validity of the measurements. The Forerunner network contains the tools we need to stabilize these degradations, Reyes continued. But humans can't implement them alone. The system requires Zilthari intuition for gravitational adjustments, Lontari temporal perception for timing the interventions, Trell crystalline processing for complex calculations, and dozens of other species' unique abilities. She looked directly at Nixthar. Including yours. The Forerunners mapped the neural patterns of your ancestors specifically because your species can perceive gravitational waves directly, an ability humans lack entirely. For the first time, uncertainty showed in Nixthar's expression. You expect me to believe that after gaining these powers, humans will simply share them? That you'll willingly relinquish such advantage? It's not about advantage, Reyes replied. It's about survival, yours, ours, everyone's. The perception ability isn't a weapon, it's a responsibility. The Forerunner consciousness expanded, addressing all present. The choice before you is simple, though not easy. Continue your conflicts and watch as reality itself unravels around you, or set aside dominance games to preserve the greater whole. Arbiter Marin moved to the center of the chamber. I have witnessed thousands of years of council history. I have seen civilizations rise and fall, alliances form and shatter. But never have we faced a choice of such consequence. He turned slowly, addressing each faction. The humans have awakened to their intended purpose. Now we must decide if we will awaken to ours. Trell was the first to step forward. The moderate faction supports cooperation. If the data is accurate and our experts confirm it is,